Get a GT500, they said. You're going to be fast and you're going to make all the power, they said. It's going to be a great bang for the buck and it's indestructible, they said. Well, I'm here to tell you that they were all wrong. What the fuck is broke on this car? Now, stay tuned and I'm going to show you another part of the saga with the Narwhal GT500. So, another part of the saga with this car. I swear this car is going to be the death of me. Everything was supposed to be simple. Everything was supposed to just work. It's a GT500. And this car is just one fucking thing after another. So, got the car in the air. You guys are going to see the updated video on the CHE torque limiter install. While I was underneath the car for the torque limiter install, I remember the prior week when I was racing that C63 AMG, I heard a little bit of weird noise from the rear after the runs. So I pulled over to the side of the road just to make sure I didn't have a flat tire because my TPMS sensors aren't working right now. So I pulled over, looked at the car, didn't see anything on the side of the road, but that doesn't necessarily mean that nothing is wrong. I'm taking the hints from my SN95 when that thing gave me a problem and basically the brake fell off and fucked my car all up. So now I am looking at things a little bit tighter. The car makes just a teeny bit of power. The car just hooks just a little bit. So now you're going to see the kind of things we have to worry about with that. The grass isn't always greener on the other side, guys, when you start making some power and I start hooking that power. So I got the car in the air, started looking around, and what I found was my Whiteline upper control arm. Basically, the flange is completely warped, pulled away. The welds are cracked almost all the way around, if not all the way around. We'll find out today when we get it out. So I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. I've already talked to Whiteline. I had the first iteration of that upper control arm. Some people say they've been known to have problems. They have redesigned that arm 2 times since. They did one with new bracing on the unadjustable arm, non-adjustable arm, and then it came out with an adjustable arm. So I talked to Whiteline. They are sending me a brand new adjustable arm to replace the original version non-adjustable arm. However, today's video is going to be an install on a BMR adjustable upper arm. And I got a spherical bushing in that, and I got a new BMR upper bracket for this upper control arm as well. I was just going to keep the new Whiteline arm and just do a simple swap out of it. However, I'm starting to think now, if things are starting to break, they have that potential of breaking as I turn the car up, because again, I haven't been turning the car up until I work out some other kinks. So we will be making more power going forward. I'm just not doing it yet until I get all my baseline stuff where I'm happy with it. So keep that in mind. So we're going to go ahead and try and get this control arm off. I'm going to show you guys the process of removing essentially what may be your stock control arm and replacing it with an aftermarket one. In my case, it's already an aftermarket one that I am taking out and replacing with a better aftermarket one. So stay tuned. We'll show you guys the process as a DIY thing, and we'll show you doing it from like a normal guy doing it on the ground where you don't have a lift to get up there. We'll show you some of the complications that goes with that lack of space of not having a lift. So we'll be back. Alright, so here is a shot of the control arm. If you guys can see right here, it is cracked probably a good 3/4 of the way. Camera's getting an angle, and right around here is cracked halfway around there, and I haven't got my hands around the other side, but it's probably cracked. Yeah, I'd say it's cracked a good amount around the other way. So you can see the full arm there. It has the if you guys can see it, has the arm from Whiteline, has the brace, and this is the flange that goes on the diff. As you can see, as you're cracking hard shifts, it started pulling this away and did some damage to this. So now the new one being adjustable, again, we're going to be able to adjust the instant center and then adjust pinion angle. So we're going to get that adjusted up as well. This one obviously not adjusted. Can't adjust pinion angle. I one-piece drive shaft. These things change. So we are going to have to adjust the pinion angle as well. And then while we're down here, we're going to clean up some other stuff. As you can see, the axle backs have some grime on them, some surface rust all over the diff. I shouldn't have done that. And you know, some of the hardware on some of the Whiteline stuff we're going to clean up as well with a wire brush. Alright, just found another potential problem on my Watts link bar. This piece of this bolt here is backing out, so we got to tighten that up. First step you want to do, take out your back seat. The reason why you want to do that is because this upper mount bolts into your chassis. If you can see right there is a 21mm bolt. You got to get that thing out. Guys, if you don't have air tools, I highly suggest you use air tools for this. If not, you're going to want some breaker bars, because this is going to be a tough job without air tools. I had to beat the shit out of this bolt. With the impact, it would not come out. I actually had to hit it with a breaker bar and the extension from my jack to be able to get this thing out. So what we're going to get out here is this one at the diff. This side is a 21mm, and opposite side to it is a 18, I think it was. So we're going to go ahead and pop that thing out, and then we're probably going to have to go up a little bit on the diff and be able to shimmy that bolt out. One other complication you're going to see is right around there, there's two bolts for the bracket, and there's another bolt back behind this gas tank. I was hoping I wasn't going to have to drop the gas tank at all, but it looks like, as per that hump, I am going to have to drop it. I gave a couple quick taps of the mallet, got that bolt out. Now you see the jack stands underneath. And we're going to go ahead and lower the diff and get some more room underneath the car to drop the gas tank a little bit. You're going to see these two T50 Torx bits on the ground. You're going to see some wood blocks on jack stands and my gas tank hanging on that. Hopefully I don't have too much of an issue getting it back up in the air. So we're going to go ahead and jiggle that out. You can see where that bracket is all fucked up on that Whiteline mount. That thing is completely cracked through. So we're going to go ahead and try and jiggle this thing down and get it out of here, and I'll show you guys the side-by-side with the BMR. Now you guys can see the true damage of this bracket. This thing was fucked. If I would have probably raced this one more time, I would have been having a bad day. So you can see it is right where my thumb is. It's cracked all the way around. You see inside there, cracked all the way around. That lip there is cracked all the way around, and you can see it does have the brace up top. Obviously was not enough because this thing is cracked. The bracket itself is in great condition. The bushing, we're going to grab that out in a little bit. The bushing's probably going to be in great condition too. This does feel like a pretty heavy piece, but what we're going to do, coincidentally enough, this box that it's sitting on top of is the new and improved arm from Whiteline. FedEx just dropped it off right now. Just got this off right now, and we got the BMR parts over there right now. So I'm going to show you guys side by side the difference between the original generation, the newest Whiteline, and the BMR. So I got the Whiteline non-adjustable upper control arm separated from their bracket, and you're going to see this stuff side by side, but we're not going to get to that point yet. So the bracket is out. Bracket's good condition. Again, looks like new. The mount or the bushing looks fantastic. Honestly, I don't really see any issue with the bushing itself. And this bushing design is a little different than what I'm used to. Instead of actually having a bolt that goes straight through, this is actually two bolts, and they are on threaded bushing inserts, unlike the new design where you can see it's just a straight through non-threaded design, and you're going to have one bolt. Your stock bolt is going to go up through there. Honestly, I'm going to give it to Whiteline. I'm borderline regretting spending $400 or so on the BMR piece. Now again, we're going to get into the side-by-side of the BMR piece, but this new upper control arm is fucking beefy, man. Compared, just weight-wise, compared between the two, this thing is a lot beefier. If you look side by side at the gauge thickness of the steel, I'm assuming it is, that they use on that, the gauge thickness difference is phenomenal. I mean, side by side with the BMR piece, that is the same gauge stuff. The threaded insert on the BMR is a little bit bigger. I'm going to say the bearing area on the Whiteline is bigger. Now, BMR makes a 2011 Plus unit that is significantly bigger than this one. I mean, the circumference of the new one is almost double, and the bearing size is almost double. But again, side by side, guys, if you have, if you're not doing monster torque and you're racing the shit out of these things, and honestly, even if you are, this new Whiteline unit may do the trick. This old one didn't. You can see why it failed. It's pretty obvious why it failed. The new one should do the trick. As far as that bracketry, that is probably fine. Now you're going to see the difference side by side between the BMR and the Whiteline bracketry. Again, the gauge thickness is considerably different. But I don't think this thing's twisted, man. 3 bolts holding that thing in there, I think that's honestly fine, or more than fine. So we're going to go ahead and get this boxed up. I have this new piece sold to somebody along with this. So we'll get that boxed up and out of there, but I did want to show you guys the side-by-side difference. If you're wondering, is Whiteline junk? Yeah, that was junk. Is this new one junk? Probably not, man. I think they fixed it and they figured it out. So now I am at a standstill due to manufacturing issues. So I'm going to make this clear, since nobody else on the internet has truly made this clear, and none of the videos from LMR, CJ Pony Parts, BMR, whoever, does not make this clear. So I will make this clear, because it fucked me today and I can't drive the car. So Ford has always made that top bolt hole that bolts in that bracket into, underneath the seat. That is a 16mm opening. From the factory, the bracket, as well as BMR apparently, did not really think this through. The boss for that bolt is 14mm. So what happens is, if you put in BMR's piece, that's a 05 to 10 replacement, you're going to have 2mm of driveline slop in that thing. And, maybe to some that may not be a big deal, but you start putting down 700, 800, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, that's a big deal. You're going to get some clunking. So this is where I'm going to give it to Whiteline. In their infinite wisdom, they corrected this before it was even a problem. And I'm going to show you guys on here. Whiteline actually made a 16mm boss and came with a 16mm bolt. This was the upgraded bolt. You'll find very, very little bits of information on this, but it's not very clear as to why, how, so you never really know. Alright, so now we're going to get all scientific and shit. So, let's set that to millimeters. Alright, so that boss is 22 millimeters actually, and that boss is 27.5 millimeters. Let's go grab the bolt and see if maybe that bolt is what people are talking about, the 14 to 16 millimeter. Alright, so thread to thread on the bolt is, that's going to say 15.4, but 15 and a half, almost 16. We'll go a half a millimeter difference because this is a cheap Harbor Freight micrometer. Make this stuff a little bit more clear on their site. And honestly, they do the R&D. This should have been part of their R&D, and that should have just been the default package. Alright, so now going forward, next thing we have to do is adjust the upper control arm to the stock length of the stock control arm. May be a little bit skewed length on that one because that one's so bent up. I want to say it's like 8-ish inches. I'll double check that, and then we'll adjust this one out, and then we'll connect it to the arm, or to the bracket, and then I believe that's like 110 or 120 foot-pounds. We're going to put these spacers back in, and what they suggest on their website is if you meet one of the following criteria, which mine is the criteria for the top hole. So obviously you want to look at it like that. When you're doing it upside down, it is the bottom hole. So for a lowered car more than an inch, and a manual car, and I forget what the other criteria were, but it says use the top hole. So I'm going ahead and use the top hole. Alright, so that thing is Loctited as torque to 140 foot-pounds, which seems unreal. That was not easy to do. And as you can see, it pulls the ears into that significantly on this thing. So hopefully this isn't going to torque the shit out of it to get it on, and hopefully it's not a pain in the ass to get it tight once it's up in there. Alright, so story of my life, story of my luck. It is now like a week later. I'm finally getting back underneath the car. Going back and forth with BMR has been a complete waste of my time and effort. Honestly, I don't think I'm any better off with BMR parts than what I was with Whiteline parts, other than maybe they were a little bit thicker. Their support, not really that great. I mean, they answer the phone, but I don't know, man, that's not tier 1 stuff that I'm thinking. So after they told me unbegrudgingly that to tighten up that top bolt and to make up for the slack, and ended up pulling it in, so then the bracket ended up not fitting. I had to go through all this shit to kind of get it to fit, and now I'm worried that the pressure that I put on the one bolt ended up stripping out the hole a little bit. So I got it in there, it's tight. I'm really worried it's going to pull those threads out, but we're going to see how it goes. So I'm going to try and get the rest of it together. I have to do it in 2 pieces now instead of 1, which kind of sucks. We're going to go ahead and try and get the rest of this together. I got the upper bolt from Ford, cost me like 10 bucks. And we'll get cracking and hopefully get this together tonight yet. Try and get up underneath the car, and hopefully you can see the BMR piece in place. I don't have that back bolt with the tab tightened yet, and I do not have the adjustment tightened yet. But basically I did need to take out that top bracket that bolted underneath the car that I was bitching about before. Thank God the threads weren't bad, but if you could see, I'm in the top slot there, and if you look over on this side and over on the other side, there's like a hump. Basically you cannot get that bolt in there without bringing that bracket back down. So that is why all these manufacturers tell you to do it all in one piece when you can. So I had to take the bracket back down. I just loosened the 2 back bolts back here, dropped it down. I was still able to hold the bung in up on, underneath the tank area or over the tank area. I was able to shimmy it in, get that tightened as best that I could. Got the arm in. I had to lift up actually on this part of the diff to be able to kick it back like this to get the bracket to line up. That 9.5 inches, they said, for the stock piece did not line up like that. I don't know if it's because of my one-piece drive shaft, but it did not work that way. So I had to go all the way tight on that thing and kind of shimmy the rear end up and kind of get it to go back this way, if you can see my fingers. Get it go back that way to get that bolt hole to line up. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything tightened up, and we'll try and figure out adjusting pinion angle. Today we're going to be setting the pinion angle on the upper control arm. Yesterday I tried setting it with an app on my iPhone, and that does not work as good. So I found a cheap dial gauge angle finder down at Harbor Freight for $5. And once it settles, this will settle on a degree. It has a magnetic base, so you can attach it up to the diff and attach it up to the transmission. So basically what you want to do first is we're going to get the angle of the transmission, or the back of the block. That's going to be your constant. That's never going to change. So whatever that number comes up to, we're going to do minus 1 degree on this gauge from what the transmission is down to the pinion. Alright, so the best spot I could find is at the bottom of the flange that goes to the drive shaft and angled up against the transmission mount. And if you can see, the motor is at 0 degrees pretty much, or at least what I can see from here. Alright, so now we got the dial on the bottom of the diff, and as you can see, the diff here is about plus 3 degrees. So we're going to go back 4 degrees on the diff, which I believe is loosening it. So we'll be back. Alright guys, we're actually going to end the video a little bit prematurely here. The car has actually been together for a week and a half or so.
I've actually gotten the car out, I've raced it a little bit, so I can give you a little bit of feedback. So I stopped it where I was checking the pinion angle at the actual pinion. I could not do that the way I was doing it. When I jacked up the diff, it was not jacking it up enough. I needed the full weight of the car down onto the axle to be able to set that properly. So that's why that was showing positive 4 degrees out. I got the car down on the ground because I realized that that wasn't right. You could tell by the wheel gap when you had the rear end jacked up. So got the car down on the ground, squeezed my arm all the way up to the diff, was able to put that level on there, and I'm within a degree. I think it was like minus 1 degree, 2 degrees as far as I can see. So it's pretty damn close. Tried to make an appointment to get the pinion angle set, but that turned into a train wreck. I had an appointment with the place that canceled last minute, so I just said, fuck it, I'm done. 2 things I can tell you though. The pinion angle was severely off with that white line piece. That white line piece was 10.5 inches long or something like that. That was actually almost 2 inches, 2.5 inches longer than what the stock upper control arm should be. So that was throwing my drivetrain just way out of whack. Now that I have this thing adjusted, this thing is down. The stock 07 to 09 upper control arm is 8 inches, I think, or 8.5 inches. 8.5 inches, I want to say this. The 11 to 12 was 9.5 inches. So that's where that other figure came from. I have mine in a little bit. I want to say mine is maybe 8 or something like that. So the whine for the rear has gone down a little bit. The car is driving better, coupled with the CHE torque mounts or torque limiters with the K-member brace. The car is shifting like butter now. I think I finally have it licked. You guys will probably see the video of me racing the Chevy SS up on the channel. That's already been posted. It was a clean run. I hit all my gears under watt, so I'm thinking the combination of those 2 pieces finally has this licked for me. So I apologize. The video was maybe not where I wanted the video to go. I was half raged the whole video because it was fighting back and forth with BMR. I'm going to be honest, I clipped a lot of shit out of that video. There were a lot of other clearancing and fitment and just a lot of issues with that BMR piece. It's on now. It's working. I will give it that. They gave me support. I will give it that. And past that, I'm not going to go anymore on the topic because it pisses me off. But needless to say, the car's together, car's running good. I'm thinking we're going to make some passes. So, you know, fingers are crossed. Everything's good now. So guys, thank you again for watching the video. I know it may not be what you expected, but hopefully you guys got some value out of seeing these side by side between 3 different upper control arms and 2 different upper control arm mounts, as well as you can see, you know, what something's going to do sometimes to certain pieces. Once you start making a lot of torque and you got a lot of traction and you make that torque like that on the hit, that's the kind of stuff that happens. So, lesson to be learned, look at your suspension pieces, look at your drivetrain pieces every once in a while. Make sure that you don't have something like that starting because that could severely ruin your day or worse. So, take that out of the video at least. And guys, I appreciate again watching the videos. Thank you for all the support. Please like, subscribe, pass the videos on if you feel they are of value. And we'll go on to the next install and we'll get you guys some racing videos. Thanks for watching.